Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it's time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today I wanted to put together a video about scamming in Path of Exile trade leagues. This is not a video about scams that target one individual player and try and steal a lot of currency from them, whether that be a fake mirror service, doing a switcheroo between a cheap divination card and an expensive one like a doctor, or any of the other sorts of methods of scamming one player. This is instead a scam that targets a lot of players at once. It's also a lot worse in 3.17 than it's been in the past. To demonstrate what's going on here, have a look at the price history of the simulacrum. This is from the website poe.ninja, and what poe.ninja does is it reads the trade API that GGG publish and looks through it for evidence of trades having happened, and then aggregates the prices at which it believes items have actually sold for, and then uses that information to work out a price that it recommends that items are worth. poe.ninja is then used in turn by a lot of other trade assistant tools that are widely used by endgame players in Path of Exile. So it looks like a simulacrum is 64 chaos at the moment because a buy price is the one that people take as authoritative. However, that is not true at all. You'll see here that the price of a simulacrum is actually somewhere between 88 and 94 chaos, and the price if you buy them in exalts is definitely a 0.7 exalts, which again is around the 90 chaos mark. What's going on? A whole lot of effort is being used to feed fake data into poe.ninja. Now I know how to do this. I am definitely not going to give reproduction steps in a publicly seen video, but it is something that can be done by an organized group working together, even on an item like the simulacrum. You can't realistically do this on an item like the Exalted Orb because the trade volume is so high that the legitimate trades will really overwhelm your fake data. But for an item like the simulacrum that's moderately traded, this league, the scammers are starting to do it. In the past, it was much more done on smaller items, things that had much lower trade velocity. But now the scammers have ratcheted up their game and they're targeting things like the simulacrum that are traded much more. And as a result, they're probably seeing much higher profits from it. So how do the scammers actually profit from this? So they've tricked you into selling your simulacrum for less than market price, but then surely there's a lot of people looking to buy simulacrums. It's a high turnover item. Surely that would mean that they're not going to necessarily get all that many of them. Well, when people go to buy a simulacrum or another endgame consumable, what they will do is they'll do one of two things. Either they'll have a live search set up. Now, live searches have a small delay on them, and so as a result, the scammer will always beat you if you're relying on a live search. Or they will hit refresh once on the trade page. And then you go through. Okay, you message the first person, maybe they don't respond. You message the second, oh, yep, they'll respond. Then you'll transact with them. Maybe you don't get it from the second. Maybe you have to go to 5 or 6 people down the list, and eventually you find someone that's selling. The key thing is you only hit refresh once. What the scammers do is they will have not just one PC, but a lot of PCs refreshing constantly. There is a limit built into the PoE trade site, and so in order to circumvent that, they'll have thousands or tens of thousands of accounts doing this, and they will keep spamming it so that they can get around that rate limit, keep spamming new accounts until they find the people that are selling the simulacrums cheap. Maybe they'll refresh so frequently that they're between all of their PCs, they're refreshing at least twice a second. And that means that when you do actually have a simulacrum that goes up for sale at 65 chaos, then it's pretty much always the scammers that will be able to be the person that sends the first message because no one else has noticed as yet. So how do you protect yourself from this scam? The key thing is don't price your items at fair price, price them quite a bit above, and then aggressively undercut the pricing over time. So if you get a simulacrum and you see on poe.ninja, oh, they think that's 65 chaos at the moment, don't list it at 65, list it at 100. Run a few maps, it won't sell. Drop it down 5 chaos, it's now 95. Run a few maps, didn't sell, all right, drop it down to 90. Run a few maps, it doesn't sell, yep, it sold this time. Or maybe it doesn't, then you drop it to 85 and suddenly you've got 15 people pinging you to buy it. At that point, you can be confident that you're only ripping yourself off a couple of chaos, and so you can go, yep, sure, transact to the first person that messaged me and the rest of them all miss out. If you do this, you're not going to be giving large donations to the scammers that are behind wrecking poe.ninja. 2 closing remarks. Firstly, when a divination card Eternal Bonds was added to the game a few months ago, there was a whole lot of price fixing that took place on that as well. I made a video about it, a bit of a PSA, and a number of people thought I was being too harsh in calling this conduct scamming. I want to defend calling it scamming and normalize calling this scamming rather than price fixing or some other mealy-mouthed halfway term. It's dishonest conduct aiming at enriching yourself. That's the first point. And secondly, the real world legal system regards this sort of conduct of fabricating a price history in order to deceive buyers and sellers as criminal fraud. So that's the first point. This is scamming. This is not just being a bit of a jackass. Secondly is the question of what to do about it. Between February 12 and February 13, there will be a very clear audit trail that will demonstrate the exact individuals that were responsible for all of these fake trades that were done in order to make the simulacrum price look different to what it was. These people should just be banned for scamming. Permanently ban them from the game, and you'll achieve a few things. Firstly, the trade API will be under less stress. With less of these fake listings going up, there'll be less stress, which means that the trade API will work better for all of the honest players in the game. Secondly, the experience of trading for honest players will improve substantially. Thirdly, even for people that don't trade at all, you would benefit as well from the trade API being under less stress, because presumably GGG balanced their server resources somehow between the game servers and the trade API. Maybe that's not correct, but I do think there is a possibility that game performance would improve if the amount of trade API stress was reduced. But fourthly, would also just dissuade other people from being involved in trade dishonesty in the game, which would also improve things greatly. I don't see anyone that loses out of it, except for people that I'm quite happy to see lose out of it. So for that reason, I think that it'd be a really positive thing for the game if GGG were to audit the trade API for this days, work out who the individuals were, and for the people that were unambiguously involved in it, just get rid of them. The community will be better off without them. So that's all I got on that. May Evalobs have interesting results.